Filming, yep.
So we're joined today by two of our amazing fellows, Sam and Nick. So what have you been doing at Badminton this week, Sam?
Okay, so I've actually been here supporting the grassroots riders. So we've had quite a lot of grassroots riders here, which their opportunity to ride around Badminton is amazing. It is their Badminton. So I've been doing that since Tuesday, doing the dressage and then their jumping, and it's all gone really, really well. And they've been very well actually prepared by a lot of coaches out there, so that's good.
Fantastic.
And then today we've been really lucky because we've had Nick Turner. So for the Fellows and Eyes Association, we organised a course walk. So we had a lot of people come in, and then we've had a good walk around the course to see the big Badminton. And Nick has given us his words of wisdom from a coach's perspective as well as a rider as he was.
So Nick, we're so lucky to have you as a fellow of the Tour Society. You've got an absolute wealth of experience of coaching people and getting them around Badminton. What have you made of the course?
This year I think they've done an amazing job. I think what Eric Winter as the course designer, he has done a great job in what he's presented to the riders. Plenty of questions, but actually making riders think, making sure he's testing their training rather than trying to catch any horse out. And I think everything, if it's ridden the right way, it should jump very, very well. I think it's a very good, bold riding course, and I think he's done a great job in what he's presented for the riders to deal with.
Excellent. And so you're here all week. What other roles have you got apart from having a lovely morning with the Eyes and Fellows Association? I'm sure you're doing something equally important. Have you got any riders here?
Yes, so essentially I was also involved with the grassroots. Some riders that did a course walk for them on Tuesday afternoon before they went on to compete yesterday. I have also a rider of David Dole who is here riding in the main Badminton course. His dressage he's fourth last to go tomorrow, Friday, and then he'll be right at the end of the day on Saturday. We've already ridden the course and we've already walked the course together to have a little bit of an understanding of what he feels about it, but also just my role as a coach, just sort of, have you thought about this, have you thought about that, and what, just looking at different options and the relevance of how fences link in and the effect the course may have, and just making sure all the details covered, really.
So how many times would you walk the course with one of your riders?
David, I'd probably only walk probably twice, possibly 3 times. So I walked it yesterday. Today he's left to his own devices, he can do whatever he wants to do, and I want him to walk it for himself, think about that. If there's anything tomorrow, Friday, that he wants to walk, we can go and do that again. But I would probably walk it first thing Saturday morning before the crowds arrive, before there's any distractions, and just the two of us walk it. The likelihood of me saying anything, which is a rarity, on the Saturday morning is just walking around and just making sure when he's walking a line to a fence, I'll be standing behind just watching the line he's walking. Is that really what we talked about? And just maybe flag that up to him. Are you happy with that? Those sort of things. Final detail, really, more than anything.
And are there any particular fences around the course that you think are going to be a problem?
I think anywhere around here is a problem. Even a straightforward fence can trip you up. There is, I think what Eric's done, the first part of the course is, there's still the odd area that you can have a run out or glance off a fence, but it does encourage a good bit of riding. The middle section near the vicarage ditch, lots of ditches, lots of big combinations, lots of things. It's a very intense part of the course. Anything could happen around there, and I think it's that cumulative effect of more combinations, more questions that basically affect how confident the horse is and the rider becomes, and how it's going, really.
And Nick, the water's always a massive part of badminton. Everyone loves sitting by the lake and watching the horses come through. How's that looking this year?
I think it's great. I think they get their feet wet just cantering through the lake, the end of the lake, before they go into the lake proper. It's a 3-part combination, but with a decent log in, with a drop behind, which could just catch a few out. They've got to be positive in, but under control enough in their position and the balance of the horse to jump a fence in the water and then quickly jump a fence on rising ground coming out. It's quick and intense, and it's always a crowd pleaser seeing what's going on there.
Sam, tell us a little bit. So we've had really dry weather recently. You walked the course today. What's it going like?
Well, the going actually here, we were saying about this out there, that one, they're very strict, so we've not gone on the course at all. If you look, Nick's got his, he did have his band on, so it's very restricted who's allowed to actually physically walk on the course. That's restricted to riders and coaches, maybe the odd owner. So that's an important thing. People need to understand how precious that is. But I think they have put down a huge amount of water, haven't they? And they've been preparing it. It feels almost spongy. It's beautiful. With the little bits where we've crossed, it really is noticeable. So they've done a wonderful job out there, haven't they? And the road crossings will all be done last thing. But yeah, it just feels the weather is amazing here today, and it's not going to be. We don't think it's going to be too hot for them, but slightly influential. But it's just going to be great for them to go out and actually feel that all they have to really focus on is the jumping, the lines, and not be worrying too much about the terrain.
No, exactly.
But it's very up and down. This is what people don't always take into account in cross-country riding, is that the terrain is very, Badminton's always a little bit, and that just starts to take it out of horses a little bit. You have to be very good with the rider balance.
Could you tell us a little bit, so often at badminton, one of the issues is getting around in the time. How tight is it, and how do you as a rider go about working out if you're going quickly enough, and if you're taking the long routes, is that even possible?
But if I maybe start, and Nick can speak with much more experience than myself, but I mean certainly when I'm training riders myself, we do use minute markers. So you'll see lots of riders out there wheeling the course and walking it with GPS watches on, and that's also done. So they will be really walking what they think the course builder has designed as the line. That will be the quickest route, and then they will take into account if they do go on the slightly longer option, or if they feel they just have to give the horse a little bit longer to set up to a fence. That will also be going through their mind, that I've just wasted a little bit of time there, maybe I can make it up on a straight line gallop. So it is about so much more that they go out the box thinking about. Minute markers, fences, lines, lining up to things in the distance. There's a huge amount there. But I think with Nick, that's what's very clever about this badminton, isn't it? Is the sneaky little lines and the options. If you do what looks to be the quickest option, but there's plenty of nice horse-friendly options to, look after someone that's a little bit less experienced or just wants to get round, but it will cost them, won't it?
Yeah, and for those riders that just want to get round their first badminton, there's nothing wrong with taking a safe route. With the knowledge you're going to pick up some time penalties, that's a given, not a problem at all. The direct routes are there to be attacked and be positively ridden with a bit of trust in and belief in your horse and your own ability. With that in mind, if you set out with that in your mindset, you will be on your minute markers through the first part of the course for sure. The middle section, because the more jumping efforts you have to jump in a short space of time, naturally slows you up. So there could be a situation in the middle part of the course, there's 5, 6, 7 minute markers where you are slightly behind your time. That's not the time to panic, because you've got some open galloping stretches towards the end that you've got to believe that you can get back into way above your average speed you need to go around complete the course in to pick up some time. So where you've got the intensity, believe that you might be down on your markers at that point, with the belief that you can pick up time later on.
You touched earlier about horse welfare, so we're expecting it to be quite warm. What sort of plans are in place for those horses when they finish cross country?
So down in the collecting ring, you'll see they've got some big tanks down there, and I mean these teams around the horses are incredibly experienced. They're listening to the research, they're listening to years and years of experience. So what you're seeing is a lovely area to be actually at the end, just out of the main arena when they finish. There will be teams straight on those horses anyway, and they will have a constant supply of water, and you'll see each team will have their own buckets and equipment and scrapers. Now we know there has been some recent research that's talked about the fact that you don't actually have to immediately scrape the water off. They believe now it's not that detrimental, but you'll see a lot of people wash and scrape immediately, because they will stick with what's worked in the past. And you'll see things, you know, the horses having, ice boots and things like that put on straight away. But it is a lovely place to watch. The rider will be sometime, not always, taken away and interviewed and everything else. There will be a team on that horse, and they will have nothing else in their mind but that horse. And that horse is not just today or on the day, but the long-term welfare of that horse to go and do this again, hopefully in another 3 months or so.
In terms of the rider preparation, how much is it about getting inside the mind of the rider to have them in the right place to get around that course?
Massively. I think every rider's a little bit different in how you, as a coach, you might support them, or before you set off, your words of wisdom could shoot you in the foot sometimes because you say the wrong thing to the wrong person. And every rider, sometimes you don't need to say anything, just a little nod, a little wink, whatever it may be. But essentially, it's about setting them off in a positive mindset that you've done all your homework beforehand. And some riders benefit from come on, you can do this, and some can be, that was really good, that's all you need to say. And it just depends on how you are. So if you've worked with them in the past, you know what you can say and what you can't say. Sometimes it's not always politically correct, but it's what works for them. Absolutely fine, so no one else needs to hear that. But essentially it's about getting getting that horse and rider attuned and just keep them focused. My job in the collecting ring is really not to do any coaching. I'm there information and information only. They can focus on warming the horse up. If there's a hold on course, I will just say, just walk a minute, there's a hold. And okay, they've started, you've got 8 minutes, whatever it may be, just so that you're giving them information. Beyond that, that's all my job is.
So we're so lucky to be back at Badminton this year. We've had 2 years when we've not been able to be here. Really sad. These horses won't have seen crowds for quite some time potentially. And here, they're already sold out for Saturday, so it's going to be absolutely heaving with people. Will that have potentially an impact on the horses?
Well, we were actually talking about this earlier. So in the grassroots competition, we saw a lot of horses, and there was a lot more people for the grassroots than we've ever had, I think, before. A lot of supporters, I think, have come. And there was a lot of horses that were really, the alleyways were quite narrow for the grassroots, and they were really popping and spooking at things. And it reminded me as a coach and a rider to say, actually, you forget that the horses do need to take that on board. I think, in fairness, Nick, probably at this level, these horses have been so well prepared, and they wouldn't. Well, some are coming straight here. I mean,
yeah.
that is true. But they're not just coming to Badminton. They've been preparing for this for years. So their rider will go out and give them that little bit of a feel. And starting in the arena and finishing in the arena, but starting in the arena, it actually feels like you go out a little bit away from it. And once you learn and they see that sea of people, it's the same all the time. And that's where the roping and the stewards and everything, it's very important that they've thought about how far to have that crowd away from the horses at significant fences. But yes, it's we will see.
Yeah, I think that the part that always sticks in my mind the first time riding around here, and I say to any first time rider around here, even though you may have walked your route, give yourself a metre at least less line than you think, because people are hanging, they're leaning forward to see you, and even though they've got the rope stopping them, that's just going to send you closer to the fence than you may think. So it's always having that in your mind that you don't quite have the route that you may have on your A plan.
And it is part of the competition.
Yeah.
I mean, there's specific fences with mushrooms and trees and obstacles to make you have to do quite an acute line. And like Nick says, they will deliberately think, or just put away, think, why have they brought the string in there a little bit? And it is to make it that they can't just have loads of room to line up. These horses and riders are really, really experienced. They're the best in the world. So, they're going out, they're very informed.
And on the morning of cross country, Nick, you've ridden around here, incredibly exciting, nerves. How do you work the horse in before you start the cross country? What sort of things would you be expecting your rider to do in the morning before he sets off?
Because David's late on in the day, I'd say take the horse early once we walk the course, go off and just give him a leg stretch before the tannoys start up and etc. Give him a leg stretch and then just put him away for a while. That's all he needs to do. In the build-up, it's about It depends on the horse, essentially. We have the plan of building the horse's heart rate up, giving it a breather, and then carry on. Because of the numbers of people that are you're going through on the way from the stables, and the 10-minute walk it takes to get up to the main arena, it can, with a tense horse, create the heart rate to come up far higher than you already want. So those sort of horses, you would have a much shorter warm-up period, because essentially if they're tense, they're not going to get any less tense when they're up here. So you almost want to build a heart rate up and start. With more easy, more relaxed horses, you would go through the warm-up, gradually get them warmed up. You've got your 10-minute walk to have a trot, have a canter, jump a few fences, walk for a minute, and then just jump maybe 1 or 2 more fences and a little gallop before you set off. It just depends on the horse and the rider. And the other thing is being careful with some riders not to let them leave all the jump in the collecting ring. They have to just monitor how many times they're jumping. Just have a few good feels, and then that's enough.
And just one last question. I understand that the stabling here is quite remarkable. Could you tell us a little bit about behind the scenes of badminton?
Well, I think it's a bit surreal. It is lovely. It's so traditional, and it's, you know, it is so old, but it works. But there's this amazing feel when you go in there, I think, anyway,
Yeah.
Nick. Whenever I go there, everyone's very professional, very quiet, but very relaxed. And it's important, I think, that they're so away from all the crowds, and it's not somewhere that all the crowds can go. That's really important for the horses' welfare, again, that they can have downtime. But it's, everyone's got their little areas and all their stuff, but there's people working all the time. There's people up there stitching up your favourite boots that are falling apart because you don't want to put a new pair on. There's people there, you know, yesterday, Kylie, one of our new fellows, her horse was having a massage, you know, a little bit of physio through its neck and shoulder. You know, it's just, it's going on all the time. They're up there weighing them, the nutritionists are there, we've got the vibration plates. It's whatever the riders would normally do. They just try and keep things pretty normal, don't they? But it is you walk through the archway and it's like, wow, this is badminton, and they've all got their nameplates, and there's something really special about
It's
badminton.
very special.
For me, I'm a badminton girl. I'm absolutely...
No, and it is very calm for the intensity of the competition. Going through the arch into the stable yard, it is very calm, although there's lots of little pockets of activity going on. Every horse is very relaxed, and it's all very quiet and serene. You come back out with
Feel
sort of
100 miles away from this,
Yeah.
which I think is lovely for riders as well. And some riders will spend a bit of time up here, won't they, Nick? But a lot of them, until they're done, they won't get to enjoy any of this. They'll enjoy what they're doing. They will be down there, out the way, staying out of the atmosphere, and just completely focused.
Yeah, that's given us the most amazing insight. Thank you both so very much. And enjoy the rest of badminton, and good luck for your rider.